Good morning. Good morning. My name is Werner Eriksen. I work with a company called Telenor, or actually a subsidiary called Telenor Digital. I used to have a slide talking about Telenor, but you need to Google it. I guess some of you know it already. So this morning, I'll just show you a little bit about my particular group has been doing when it comes to building a small telco. So I hope you're interested in that. Basically, what we've been trying to do is build an experimental telco, basically from the ground up. So we found that if you want to do services, if you want to do implementations and so on, having all your hands on existing operations is not so easy. So we had a group of software developers that really didn't know too much about telcos from the beginning, but they knew a lot about the technologies and the methodologies of the internet companies. And this is where it gets interesting, I think. Of course, it had to be virtualized. Of course, it needs to be put in some cloud. And in the end, what I'll give you is basically a recipe to show you how you could do it yourself. So, in the most important part of the recipe is that you need to have a desire to innovate on the core mobile stack. And this guy is the Swedish chef from the Muppet Show. And he is very interested in doing things and building great things, but sometimes it breaks. And of course, if you go to your MNO that generates billions of dollars every year, you don't want to have the Swedish chef to mess around there. This is actually what we tried. We went there, said we had some small idea. We want to just make a small upgrade to your HLR. And of course, that would give us what we wanted, basically a kitchen, to make all those great dishes that the Swedish chef wants to do. If you're in charge of that operation, generating the billions of dollars, what do you think the answer is? Yes. Well, it's a very great idea. Maybe it flies, maybe it don't, but please don't do it in my home. And of course, that leaves us with the great barrier to try out things that we would like to give to the customers. So what we ended up doing is basically setting up our own MVNO, a full stack MVNO with all the components that an MVNO should have. Basically leaving the home safe, renting the radio network, and then building all the components that we need to get a mobile operation up and running. But again, this is not built to generate loads and loads of revenues, at least not in the beginning, but to have somewhere for the chef to work. So the next ingredient is you need a bunch of software engineers. This is the key component. And just a tiny bit of telco engineering. Because these guys don't know all the different protocols that you normally see in the telco network. But you don't want to have too many telco engineers, because they will say, wow, you can't touch the HLR. Be careful about that. Oh, it's SS7. Be careful about that. So you need to have a good mix. Maybe one telco engineer per 10 software engineers is a good mix we found. And also you can get some friends. Is Sean here? Telsax? So yeah, so also we tried to find some people that both knew some things about software and something about telco. And Sean from Telsax was one of those guys with some of his colleagues. This is actually a picture from, I think in February this year, we had our first call go through the system. And this time we actually had some champagne too. Did you bring that, Sean? No, I'm not sure you did. But you could do it next time maybe if you come to Oslo. Then the next ingredient is, of course, to utilize the same tools and methodologies as the internet companies. And this, I think, has been a bit of a surprise that for a long time the telcos haven't really dared or wanted to use the amazing tools and the amazing work that people have been putting into these open source frameworks. And I think only by doing that you are able to compete head to head with those guys that do this for a living. And these are just a few of those tools that we actually use on a daily basis. And this is a very different set of tools than our mothership is using when they build their networks. Then I think another important mix to put into your nice dish is to have some real end users. I think in Telenor we have many, many different labs where we have built lots and lots of good stuff, but it's never exposed to anyone else than those that build it. Or maybe their friends. And this is a big problem, I think. You need to have a full cycle to be able to develop services. You need to get it in the hands of the users to build and measure and understand and talk to the user, why did you use this and why did you not use that? So this is the key thing that's different from our setup, is that we have built a lab environment basically, but it's exposed. I can give SIM cards, I can hand them out to people that I don't know. And what we have done with our mothership actually is to recruit students that travel abroad. Normally what they do, they cancel the subscription in Norway. They don't want to use their roaming SIM card when they're abroad. But this time we gave them the ability to keep their number and keep in touch with Mama when money runs out, using basically the web browser. So for this, we're just basically using WebRTC to get access to both the voice part and also the messaging part. So this means that Mama can call you on the old number and you can reach any number back at home in Norway, like the bank or the Mama, or maybe they are the same. So basically what the students have, they didn't get the SIM cards actually, just to try that out. But they can log into any PC that has WebRTC enabled. They can make calls, they can receive, they can get the history of all the messages and so on. And they spread quite widely across the world. This is only 150 people, and quite widespread. So one of the first things we had some interesting experience with was, of course, if they need some help to support these guys. So basically our small team suddenly need to support people across all the different time zones of the world. So that was an interesting experience. But I think the key element in our setup is actually to have real users. You know, start small, but at least get some feedback on what the service is. Now, what does it mean? What is it? So basically, we have a host. This is Telenor in Norway, actually. We try to bring everything onto IP as soon as possible, because our software engineers, they won't like to use Wireshark and not some exotic tool from the telco side. So what we've done is basically to bring everything on IP as soon as possible, and all the services and all the servers and all the applications and so on can run either on a private or a public cloud infrastructure. And this is where all the internet companies' tools are coming to hand, you know, like Docker and all those things, makes it much easier than it used to be. We started out actually building private clouds, and then we tried to move things into the public clouds, and now we have full flexibility. If you wanted to do scale, we can have some parts running in the private cloud and some in the public cloud. We're not doing NFVs, orchestration, all kinds of stuff like that. We are kind of just using the normal tools that you get from these clouds. You don't need to put funny names on it, I think. And at this moment, we have not pushed it very hard in terms of scalability, but for flexibility, this is magic. You can roll out and test new services in minutes and not in months. Finally, this is the recipe. So, first of all, you need to have a desire to do the innovation, and not on top of it only. I know that this is APIs and so on, but we would like to actually try to mess around with the internals of the core. And just saying that in a traditional telco is sometimes quite controversial. Then you need to build a team which is consisting of great software engineering people. And this is a very key thing. So you need 2 bunches of that. And not too many bunches of the classic telco engineers, but you'd still need them, because otherwise your host operator will not talk to you. If you don't know all the different protocols, all the different parts, can't speak their language, they will throw you out. And we try that. We got someone that could actually do the translation. But you don't want too many, because then they will say, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's simple, no, don't go there. Then we found that already it's quite easy to connect to MNOs if you want, because these interfaces are quite heavily standardized. And that's the good part about standardization. You could actually ask for something that's already there. It's basic configuration for the operator to do so. Then you need to align with people that have some kind of the same mindset as you. So the traditional telco vendors in the beginning didn't want to talk to us. That has slightly changed. But we have been spending time finding people like the Telestax guys that have some kind of the same mindset to build this platform. Talked about the software internet companies, what they do, and as you see, they're quite aggressively open sourcing things. We talked about machine learning or AI. Just last couple of weeks, Google has open sourced a lot of stuff, which is easily pluggable into this infrastructure. And suddenly you are standing on the shoulders of giants, and this happens all the time. This is exactly what happened with WebRTC as well. Real users, important to get the real feedback, so you don't build things for yourself and only for yourself. And then a bit of secret sauce, so it's getting a little bit more interesting than just the standard services. Then it needs to take some time, and you need to let it break a few times, or more often than not, I think. And expose it to real users to bring the temperature up. It's a dramatic change in the mindset of the developers once we brought on real users that started to depend on the service. Suddenly we wanted to have some way of identifying that the system was up and down, the health, and figuring out how to fix problems quickly if they were. So this is our kitchen. We are having a good time there. Hopefully we will see some more of this. Cook up some good dishes. That's the recipe. Go home and do the same. Thank you very much.
Question from Dean. Hi.
Hi, Dean.
Great presentation, but I noticed your recipe didn't include the word designer. Where does that go?
Yeah, I need to update that slide, I think. Yes, yeah, of course. We try to mimic the way that the software, the internet companies are working. And of course, the designer, the UX guys, the product development or developers and so on are a huge part of that. So yes, they're here.
Hang a sec.
No, just another addition. Business owner.
Yeah, as I said, the focus here has been on experiments. And this has been a big hurdle for, okay, so Telenor is a very commercial company. A business case needs to be established long before you even think about doing stuff normally. But in this case, we've actually been able to say that, okay, by having something like this, it's a great asset for the group. And the business owner is basically not measuring in dollars and cents, but more in the number of experiments we are able to execute on, and also the results from that.
Okay.
Two questions. Can you just... No. Yes? Sorry. Can you describe a bit more what is your customer target? And second question, to execute this kind of operation, what is the size of your team?
Okay, so the customer target initially is just someone. Okay, so we need to start somewhere, and we started with the students because they had a definite need that was not covered at the moment. And they were also eager to work with us to develop a service, to give feedback. So we wanted to work with someone that can actually have a serious interaction with, all right? When it comes to the size of the team, it's a couple of bunches of engineers, 0.1 bunch of telco. No, we're about 12 people at the moment. Yes. But it's a bit of lie, because as you said, we've been standing on shoulders of giants too. So sometimes we are able to do a lot of things very fast. Sometimes it takes a long time because we need to do things ourselves. So it's hard to measure, but actually working in the team on a day-to-day basis is about a dozen people.
But at what point do you have to grow? You want to maintain that to 12?
Now, okay, this is, okay, so what's your, are you part of an operator or?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good, yes. So I think Telenor today is like 33,000 people. And then look at our group of 12, they say, what the hell is going on? And then I have found an interesting article about WhatsApp. Okay, so developing a service that serves multi-million messages a day doesn't need to be 33,000 people. I think at some point when they had 500 million users, there were less than 35 people, engineers working on it. So it really is the kind of people you have, what kind of tools you actually give them, that is an important thing. Of course, if you want to do like multi-million subscribers and give them customer service like you used to do, then numbers start to grow. But this is used to do. I think we would like to try to do things differently.
Okay, so for the sake of time, again, a round of applause, Werner. That was an excellent presentation. Thank you so much.